Hey guys, it's me Nes, and we're going to react to 11 most protected WWE wrestlers ever. Um, Most of the time, people were, knowing that some wrestlers, especially if you're in a family dynasty or if you're considered to be a larger than life character or at some point the most favorite character to fans, you're most likely to be protected. And it is what it is for some people that um, some people understood that they are the most valuable, you know, employees or staff members of the company itself, because you know that regardless of because of the attitude or because of how they consider themselves mainstream, they're the most important or essential type of individual or characters that needed to portray for the company itself. So let's get into it.
11 most protected WWE wrestlers. Number 11, Stone Cold Steve Austin. One of the key traits of Stone Cold was that he was extremely protective over his character, and this meant that if WWE gave Austin a creative direction that he didn't like, he simply wasn't going to follow it. During the Attitude Era, Austin was WWE's resident top star, and because of this, losses were few and far between for the Texas Rattlesnake, and if he did lose, then it was going to be presented on pay-per-view, and it was going to be a huge deal. This isn't to say that Austin was selfish, as when the time came for him to put over another wrestler, he truly gave it his all to make the wrestler look incredible. For Austin and WWE, it was just a case of protecting one of the biggest names to ever lace up a pair of boots, and that often meant that Austin was coming out with a victory in the majority of his featured matches. Number 10, Goldberg. Whilst the initial WWE run of Goldberg was a mixed bag, WWE did commit to presenting Goldberg as credible and legitimate. For his one-year run in the promotion, Goldberg would defeat top names such as The Rock, Triple H, and Chris Jericho, and it was extremely rare to see the former world champion take a pinfall loss. During 2003 alone, Goldberg won 37 out of 45 matches, which highlighted just how strong WWE's booking for Goldberg ended up being. Goldberg had numerous other part-time runs years later in WWE, and this saw Goldberg take a number of key losses, and WWE quite rightly liked to use Goldberg to put over names such as Brock Lesnar, Drew McIntyre, Bobby Lashley, and even Roman Reigns. Number 9, Tatanka. Giving a wrestler a notable win streak is traditionally a way to tell the audience that they need to take that wrestler very seriously. However, it's up for debate whether this had any benefit to Tatanka, as his streak was never presented as a big deal, and it didn't feel remotely special when his streak was eventually broken. Tatanka was undefeated for around a 2-year period, and it came crashing down on the October 30th 93 edition of Superstars, as Tatanka suffered his first televised defeat in WWE, losing to Ludwig Borger of all people. Borger himself would have a mini undefeated streak going, but when it came to Borger, WWE were prone to booking him to lose on live events. Number 8, Mansoor. Mansoor managed to acquire a win streak of around 49 wins. The main aim behind the strong booking was so that Mansoor would feel like a major star when WWE would have a show in Saudi Arabia. This even turned into a running joke with fans, as it was a given that if Mansoor was wrestling in Saudi, he was going to win, no matter who he was wrestling on the card. The Wrestling Observer newsletter would claim that the streak was being kept to appease WWE's benefactors in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. However, according to Mansoor himself during an interview with TalkSport, WWE officials weren't even monitoring the streak. It was absolutely not a thing. I remember when I realized I hadn't been losing, I was like, this is weird, what's going on around here? And then some fans was like, hey, do you know you haven't lost since the August of last year? You're like 30-0, and I didn't know that. Then a part of me was like, what's the purpose for this? It even came to a point where I'd actually go to people in the office, I won't say who, but I would go to them and say, please, I want to lose. I'm begging you. I want to put this guy over. And they were like, no. I think that's something that might have to do with it was a conversation I had with Vince McMahon in Saudi Arabia, where he was like, we're going to get you gearing up to join us on the main roster. Mansoor would eventually have the streak end in a random episode of Raw, and this subsequently ended the sustained push he'd received for the past few years. Number 7, Triple H. The Reign of Terror phrase often refers to Triple H's dominance and control over the main event scene in the 2000s. The game, while still popular and still a huge star, seemed to be holding other talent back, and he was booked incredibly strong. Triple H would win major matches throughout 2003 and even walked out of WrestleMania 19 still world champion. This style of booking was designed to make an unstoppable heel at the top of Raw, but it was understandable as to why it alienated a lot of the fanbase. Triple H and WWE did learn from their mistakes in later years, as between 2005 and 2006, Triple H made it his mission to make new stars, and he proceeded to put over names such as John Cena and Batista on the grand stage of Mania. Number 6.
It was crazy to think about it because Triple H did make a dominant reign, or specifically it was the Reign of Terror, but he beaten mostly popular wrestlers who coming out from WCW and ECW, like being Booker T, Rob Van Dam, Scott Steiner, um, Goldberg. Well, Goldberg did beat Triple H, but he kind of get the championship match, which is kind of a bit strange because you could at least book him to be champion for a while, but it's just only a month. And it's crazy though because they did try to build Randy Orton as the world champion, but during that time Randy wasn't ready, so of course they gave it back to Triple H. And it was odd because now they learned their mistakes during that time period to give new generation of future WWE superstars like John Cena, Batista, Jeff Hardy to lead, which is crazy to think about it. So I guess it is what it is, I guess. But they could at least made the right decision to give former WCW or ECW stars a chance to be world champion because they were hella over. I understand the concepts of heel being dominant in a brand, but man, some fans will like that. It's like it takes away, you know, the fans and the fan base knowing that yeah they ain't gonna watch it anymore because whatever the booking decision was is the one that's gonna affected the whole presentation of the company itself.
6. The Ultimate Warrior. To truly examine just how protected the Ultimate Warrior was in WWE, it's important to analyze his win-loss record. From 1987 to 1996, Warrior's win-loss record would often be around a 90% win percentage. Simply put, Warrior rarely lost, and if he did, it ended up being one of the most documented losses of that calendar year. This type of booking was admittedly perfect for a gimmick like the Warriors, as it would have made little sense for the Warrior to be losing every match, and it would have no doubt been highly detrimental to the success of the character. Number 5. Hulk Hogan. Hulk Hogan often ended the calendar year by having won 90% of his matches, and this simply represented the signs of the respective time, as fans in attendance weren't expecting anything other than a Hulk Hogan victory. Yes, Hogan's backstage influence and power may have had a hand in this strong booking over the years, yet even still, it did make business sense to present Hogan in the manner WWE did for such a long time. The Hulkamania era was a golden era for WWE and wrestling, and WWE were going to protect their number one star at all costs, and booking Hogan to lose a match was rarely going to be suggested in any capacity. Number 4. Brock Lesnar.
Yeah, during the 80s especially, Hulk Hogan was the most protected because he was the one leading the company, you know, and that's how it is. If you're the face, of course you expected to win as much or be protected as possible because you're hella popular, but at the same time you're the one who has the responsibilities to carry the company on your shoulders because you are the one who is basically the number one go-to guy or gal to represent the company. And that's how it is. We could argue that Hulk was mostly into the backstage politics, but you can't deny that the company or Vince wanted to protect this guy because he was basically the face of the brand that he represent for his company. And next on the list is Brock Lesnar. Same thing.
Lesnar. When Brock Lesnar was in WWE between 2002 to 2004, he was without a doubt protected. Pinning Lesnar was a rarity only awarded to exclusive talent, and this certainly enhanced Lesnar's mystique and aura. Upon returning to WWE in 2012, Lesnar was now a legitimate UFC fighter, and WWE had to protect Lesnar like he was their prized possession. Outside of some random and baffling losses, WWE did a great job in protecting Lesnar, and eventually anyone who defeated Lesnar was instantly elevated as a result. Lesnar also managed to use his backstage sway to protect himself as much as possible, and Lesnar was selected with the names that WWE had him lose to. While this could create problems from time to time, Lesnar's decision making when it came to who he was putting over in the squared circle was usually the correct call. Number 3. The Undertaker. During the early 90s, WWE had to go all the way with their booking of The Undertaker. Booking the dead man in a generic spot which saw him lose all the time was going to destroy the character, and The Undertaker would not have had a 30+ year career at the top of WWE if he was losing more matches than he was winning.
Yes.
WWE realized this early on, as between 1992 and 1993, he was winning on average around 90% of his matches. WWE had a credible, legitimate star on their hands, and their protective booking was a definitive factor in The Undertaker getting over. The best thing about the Dead Man was once he was established in his position, he was always willing to give back and put over other talents such as Mankind, Stone Cold, and Shawn Michaels, and this willingness drastically increased towards the end of the Dead Man's in-ring career. Number 2. Rhea Ripley. One of the names that is a personal favourite of Triple H is Rhea Ripley, and this has been displayed in his booking of the former Women's Champion. Ripley went over a 2-year stretch without being pinned in a match, and when you consider the WWE schedule, the thought of WWE allowing a talent to go 2 years without being pinned in the modern era is insane to think about. The booking of Ripley has received criticism, as some have said that her booking has lacked any sense of vulnerability, and this has been detrimental, especially when Ripley began to work as a babyface. Triple H and WWE clearly took these criticisms on board, as they decided to book Ripley to show much more vulnerability in her character work during the second half of 2024. And number 1.
The thing is about Rhea, it was the right booking decision. First of all, she is one of the most popular women's in the women's division, of course. But if you remember back then, when Vince McMahon had Rhea, in terms of the booking decision, she wasn't presented that Triple H envisioned for Rhea to become where she is right now. So I get that people criticize, for her because she's supremely dominating, and that's how it is. It depends on the character, but at the same time, you cannot tell that Triple H wanted to revitalize the old NXT Lumnice, or you could argue one of the wrestlers that Vince did not put over. Vince did not give Rhea that much, like if you remember the Charlotte versus Rhea at WrestleMania 36 for the NXT Championship, not gonna lie, that was the worst booking decision to make Charlotte win that match over Rhea Ripley, who was very new to the roster or the main roster. It's like, what the hell was that? It was the right decision that Rhea beat Charlotte at 39 so that she could reclaim the loss that she had, knowing that she has a character, but at the same time, she's hella popular at that point. So I get that some people, they like wrestlers who overbook themselves to win, but you have to at least give credit, because a lot of people, they pay their money to see that wrestler, right? So if you don't like that wrestler, it's understandable that you're not the only one who hates the person. You're not the only one who likes the person, because we are all different people. We're basically, supporting other wrestlers, but at the same time, we also have to support, others that we like, and there are others that we don't. So in other words, like, you don't need to, you know, like the booking decision, because again, this is basically, you know, their decision. Again, this Triple H's decision. Like, for example, LA Knight versus Shinsuke Nakamura back in Saturday's night main event. To make Shinsuke win that match was the right move, because he had a character now that it depends on his decision, or they gave him the go to that, okay, do this character, and it would make it, it will make it work. And at that point, Shinsuke was the right choice to win, because LA Knight was already been protected ever since when he was undefeated since July, if I'm not mistaken, and he was a US champ. So why not give that push to revitalize someone that Vince did not push? This is the same thing as Rhea. Now Rhea won championships during the Vince era. It's understandable. But if you think that, oh, this is too much, the critics, I understand. But you have to at least give some, credit for Triple H to revitalize characters or for wrestlers who wasn't been, you know, made by Vince, because Vince, to be honest, he hasn't seen some new wrestlers that why people love them, why people, appreciate. I get that there's a different vision, but just let the crowd, there's a part that you have to understand the crowd because they like this person more than, what, since this person is red hot, why not, let's not, push this person, like, why not push the person, but you didn't, which is a missed opportunity, and he did that a lot of wrestlers back in the day. I can guarantee you that Triple H are willing to protect uh, wrestlers like Rhea because, right now she's still number one, for sure. Like, you could not like the decision of her winning most of the time, but that's how it is because people see her as the face of the women's division right now. Especially while Becky is out, of course you got Rhea to take care of the division. But I hope that for fans, if they're looking at someone in the near future to be the next face of the company for the women's division, because to be honest, in NXT, the women there, they will be future main eventers one day when they get to the main roster. And I can guarantee you that right now WWE is having the best women's roster, specifically in NXT. But adding those stars to the main roster, oh boy. I can guarantee you, hoping that people would understood. Yeah, it's okay to criticize that the booking decision was too much, but what can you do? Most people pay their money to see that wrestler. So I know a lot of people are paid to watch or to see Rhea, for sure.
1. Roman Reigns. In modern WWE, it's hard for a wrestler to go an entire year without being pinned. However, when it comes to Roman Reigns, he spent a 3-year period without being pinned to the mat. When Reigns turned heel in the summer of 2020, WWE decided that the best thing that they could do for Reigns' character was present him as truly unstoppable.
The thing is about this character, right? The tribal chief character. He should have at least been a heel back in 2017. Because that was the time when he beat The Undertaker at WrestleMania 33. It was a missed opportunity that they didn't let Roman to be a heel. If you made him a heel at that time, knowing that he will be the tribal chief, we could have the tribal chief character early on that time period. And again, it's good that he decided, what, during the pandemic I won't come back until I'm the one who makes the decisions of being a heel instead of staying babyface. And not gonna lie, Roman did his job well because, to be honest, he was good as a heel for sure. Like, there's no doubt that he had something to prove. It's just that Vince wanted someone to be the ultimate babyface. He gave everything, but we all know that him as a heel was the best version of all time. And yeah, all I can say that the reign he had, 3 years, I get it. Some people were tired of it. For me, I was a bit tired because the interference, and I get it. That's a part of the heel. But man, if there was a time where they could at least make Roman unstoppable without needing of help, he would be the most respected. To me, he will be the most respected heel at that time. But it's understandable as a heel, you need help, and that's how it is. But for me, hoping that you know, um, hoping now he could do the same thing. Going on his own. Yeah, he still need help against the new bloodline, but hoping he can do it on his own now, because let's face it, you know, we don't need the old Roman, but something like this Roman, like it was considered to be one of the things that I hope that when he was a heel, he can do it on his own at times, but instead he needed help most of the time. And yeah, it's kind of sad, but that's how it is for a heel. Overall, yeah, he was the next face for sure. When John Cena decided, you know what, I'll go to Hollywood now, Roman Reigns steps up, and he was the guy that Vince wanted. Of course, they did not give him, you know, the creative control of what he wanted for a character. He decided during the pandemic that he'll come back in this character, and it was the best version of himself for sure. That right now, whether you like it or not, of course, he represents himself as the guy that runs the company. Again, whether you like it or not, you know, this was his own decision, his own vision, that he wanted to make things great for himself, and to do well for the company overall.
If Reigns was in a match of any kind, it was a foregone conclusion that he was winning. Whilst this did indeed become somewhat frustrating as a viewer, the quality of the matches themselves more than made up for this predictability. The first name to pin Reigns in almost 1,300 days was Jey Uso, who pinned Reigns during a tag match at the 2023 Money in the Bank event. This was a huge moment, and the crowd reaction to the pinfall was a sign that WWE's strong booking of Reigns had more than just paid off. But there you have it, folks, 11 of the most protected WWE.
So that's for the video, guys. Well, again, um, first of all, give it a like to this video and subscribe to WrestleMania. And all I can say is that, you know, for Roman, yes, he wasn't been pinned for that long. It was a good way of making him stronger as ever. Of course, he needed help, obviously, but let's not forget that yes, Jay also was the one who pinned him. So it kind of led up to that SummerSlam match. Of course, he had to lose, which is a weird way of ending where Jimmy screwed his brother, which we don't need to talk about that one. But overall, you know, yes, if you're gonna make one of your top guys being the most protected, give them the longest reigning streak of their whole career. And they did it right on Roman, because he was into this new character, and finally, you know, people were invested. Of course, some of us were tired because he always wins, and winning that much is kind of takes away the, you could say, all the things that he have done. But again, you know, for him to be this unstoppable force with the help of his family members is the thing that we would understand, that he was and will always be the greatest universal champion of all time. But now, you know, looking back to now, most people are, you know, they really miss Roman. Before he came back to SummerSlam, they miss him, so they understood that he was the important piece of the company, because without him, the company wouldn't be where they are right now because of the character that he had. But overall, this is a good video. All I can say, again, just give it a like, subscribe to WrestleMania, like and subscribe to the channel as well. And all I can say is that thank you for watching. Until we meet to the next video. Peace.